Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
If you've ever gone on some of those websites, had your DNA tested, Ancestry.com, 23andMe, and all those, interesting what you learn. But have you ever really deeply thought about your ancestry, those before you, how they still play a role in your life spiritually, and then some? We're going to look at that today through the eyes of an intuitive soul mentor and psychic reader. Fascinating stuff. I believe we're going to learn about ourselves with Hana Esselink, who joins us on the program today. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Steve?
Very well. It's so funny this is coming up because I was sitting at dinner last night with somebody, and they said to me, "Well, you said recently that you found out that you're Lithuanian." I never knew I was, and they thought that I was less Irish than I was. And then I questioned, I'm like, "Hold on, it's been like a year since I looked at this thing." So Ancestry.com, I went on there, of course, did the DNA thing,
Yeah,
and yeah, predominantly Irish, but the things you learn when you start looking at your lineage, um, but when you look at it from a spiritual standpoint, it's very interesting. And then there's many that believe, and we're going to get to this because I love your thoughts on it, how that pilots us, that whatever happened in our past,
absolutely.
family
Mm,
past,
yeah.
what role do our ancestors play in our lives?
Gosh, our ancestors, well, that's a loaded question. They play a very big role in our lives. And the thing is, a lot of us don't know that they do. We're unconsciously guided or consciously guided into making decisions about our lives. And we don't know how we're being directed or who's directing us. So the truth is that spiritually, our ancestors are with us, several of them. And you can go and do a DNA test and everything like that. I've done one myself actually, and that with some interesting results. And it's really nice to find certain things out. But the truth is, a lot of us do not know beyond a certain amount of time who our ancestors really are. So they play a vital role in our lives because a lot of them are actually our spirit guides. And from the age of about 35, they say that you live your life according to just trying to get rid of your parents and how your parents have brought you up. After that, you're free to be able to find out who you are. And the truth is, a lot of the things that we have inside of ourselves, the way we think, whether we're depressed, whether we're happy, these traits are actually in our DNA. They're sort of embedded in our DNA, and they come from ancestors that could have been around 500 years ago or something, and it's fascinating. And
Hmm.
basically, it's up to you to figure out whether you've come here to break an ancestral curse, which you may well have. You may be the generation that's come to break all the trauma that came before, and that's a big heavy weight to carry. Or you may be here looking and trying to understand how you can get closer to your ancestors, and that's how I can help with my readings and with my mentoring sessions as well. So yeah, it's a really big area, and it's an area that, to be fair, not a lot is known about. So it's important for people to spiritually find out who they are, and there are ways to do that.
How does that work in terms of our ancestors guiding us, or do they?
Yes, they do, because people related to you in a direct line go back through history. That is actually how it is. Even if you don't know who you are, they're your bloodline, what they call your bloodline. So you could be having certain gifts, and, for example, I'm psychic. Some point, somebody in my generational line was probably psychic, and that's come down the family line. Maybe it's skipped a couple of generations, but now it's landed here. And so you come with your gifts, and you could also have what is known as a returning ancestor. For example, you may not know it, but perhaps an ancestor 500 years ago has come back in you, and you are now here to finish off what they started all that time ago, but they were not able to complete. And obviously, you've come into a different age. It's now a technological, digital AI age. It's different. So what does that mean? How do you carry that forward? You have to do your own work and connect with them. And that's what I can help people to do through my readings. You know, people can come through and I can guide them, or we can do tailor-made meditations that will take you back, and you will have the visions and get the guidedness that you need in your life, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah. I want to go deeper into that. So
Sure.
is this sort of like a past life regression when you use your ability to look into somebody's ancestry?
It is and it isn't, because past life, you may have past lives with certain ancestors, you know, like a whole group of you could have come onto the earth at one point, and then the person who was your father may be here now as your sister or your brother.
Okay.
You know, it can be it can get really complex, right, Steve? So, but my main is I try to keep it simple, because when people come to me, a lot of the times they feel very lonely, they feel down, they feel as if maybe they can't get a relationship, or they're struggling with finances or something like that. But the truth is, our ancestors are just on the other side of this abyss. They are ready to help us. And I can't remember which side of the brain it is. I think it's the right side, because I had training on that recently, where there is actually a direct connection to the ancestors through things like deep meditation and things like that, where you can
Hmm.
actually ask to see them and have the openness. I mean, I do a meditation called the Rainbow Bridge meditation, where I guide people through to the Rainbow Bridge. And once they get there, there is somebody waiting for them. It's usually somebody who's passed over, and you walk over with that loved one over the bridge, and you can throw things that you don't want anymore into a little bottle into the river, and it's like a lovely 15-minute guided meditation. You walk to the other side, and most people are in tears, or they feel very emotional when they've walked through and they've done that meditation, because first you see the loved one who's with you. You may not even recognize them. Some people say, I don't recognize that gentleman who was there, but it could be your long lost grandfather or somebody like that that's come through to help you. And then you go through there. They are always there. And I think we need to be having some faith to know that we can get that help and that they are there. And it makes us stronger, actually, because they definitely can guide you with your purpose. If you're feeling lost with your purpose, what is your purpose? You know, they can guide you with that. And they give you spiritual guidance and power as well without us even knowing, you know.
Hmm. This just fortifies how important it is to meditate and get in touch with oneself, because it's all going on here. It's also going on out here, but it all starts with that quieting your mind and just taking that time to, and I think many of us minimize it, like, hey, whatever. How that is that going to help? I'll go on my phone instead, and some people waste time on watching TikTok and reels and things like that. Do you
But
feel
TikTok's never going to help you. But anyway, go on.
right? Might help you fall asleep, but do you feel that if we think we have a connection to our ancestors than we do? I'll give you an example. I have an affinity for the 1800s. I don't know what it is. I like that time period because there was a little bit of technology, there was photography. I could stare at clothing for hours in photographs. Like, wow, how did they do that? Like that it looks as good as it could be made today, but they did it back then without
Hmm.
machines and all of that. So I had my lineage done by somebody who said, who does that? Looked in some of my family roots, and she took a little bit of time and she said, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'll show you what I got. I didn't tell her anything.
Yeah.
She told me that my father's father's father was from Lithuania, which I only recently discovered through the DNA test that I'm part Lithuanian, but
Yeah.
he was a tailor in Lithuania and worked his butt off to the point where he was able to come to America, to New York City, and because he did so well at being a tailor and designing clothes and putting them together, he was able to buy his family a place to live. And so I find it kind of weird that I felt something before I even knew that. And here's this
Yeah.
here's this guy that came from the 1800s, and that's what he was doing. And he's my relative.
Well, you see, it's all in you. that it's in your DNA already. So you will have that sense of knowing. You will kind of feel things out. That's why people who don't know who their parents are really have a longing to find who their real parents are. Even if you're
Yeah.
adopted and you're in a happy family, there will be this kind of longing to really find who your parents are. It's a yearning for something. Your soul knows it, and you need
Yeah.
to find out where it is that's coming from, you know. So it's very possible, Steve, that you could have already felt that way before, you know, you unraveled all this mystery about your dad, which is, you know, incredible in itself. I mean, it can make us very tearful and very joyful finding out where our ancestors have been, where they're coming from. And I've got to be honest, the thing is, we don't know where a lot of our ancestors come from, maybe 300, 500 years ago. We may not know that lineage, and some of them could have been poisonous. They would have been, wars or fights over land or money or something like that. And so we don't know. We might not relate to every single ancestor who's in our lineage. And some of them will have had drives and horrible drives or values that we don't have. So it's really important when you meditate to ask for your ancestors to come through, to ask for the ones that you know are going to help you and are going to be good, that they're going to be on your side. You know, this is a people kind of romanticize it a little bit, and there is that side that you need to be aware of.
How do you phrase that? Do you say, connect me with those from my ancestry that serves my higher purpose? Like, how do you phrase that within your mind?
Well, I can help with that. So the Rainbow Bridge meditation really takes you deep into your soul, and it takes you deep into your mind, and it will help you to visualize those people you might not expect. Some people don't see anything. Maybe they need to do it a little bit more, a little bit more, a few more times, but there's other people that do it and they will immediately have that connection. So one of the main tools you can do is you simply have to ask them to signpost you. You may not even have to do a meditation. Meditation only is going to work if you're relaxed enough to get into that state. If you can't get into that state, I mean, you're still going to be thinking all the time and your thoughts are going to block that process. So you need to be able to, like I said, get into that abyss, really let go into your subconscious mind, because the answers are there. The answers are connected to the divine. And that's the thing I really love about it too, because ancestors are our bridge between ourselves and the divine, source. And that's why you can filter your messages through to them, and they can filter it to source and get you the answers that you need, even if you're facing really big challenges. So if people want to connect to them, they can either come book a reading with me, or you can try to do a meditation, light a candle, and just ask them to come through to show you and signpost you. You may not get a message straight away. It might come a week later. It might come a month later. It might even come a year or so later. But you will be guided because they're constantly with us.
Hmm. Can you give an example of some wildly interesting things that came out of a reading you may have done or a connection with somebody's past?
Yeah, so I connected recently with a client who came to me, and she was desperate for some answers from her father. She felt there were some secrets there within the family.
Hmm.
And he did come through, and he did, let's just say I picked up a few things and I told her what I was picking up, and she immediately knew what I was talking about. And then she knew that she would have to go and talk to her family to open up a conversation. It was something that was hidden to do with jewelry, and it just came straight through to me. And I said, "This is what he's saying to me." And she said, "Oh my God, I know exactly what you're talking about."
Wow.
And she then sent me a message back afterwards saying, "Thank you very much for that." So I mean, for me, it's a lot of concentration as well, because to really connect with them, being authentic, sometimes is challenging because they're giving you cryptic clues, and I'm trying
Hmm.
to convey that message over to my clients. But I mean, my grandmother's always been my guide, my grandmother on my mother's side. And even before I was doing this live today with you, Steve, I did feel her energy saying, almost like coming in saying, "Good luck, it'll go well." And I was like, "Well, thank you." So they are with you. It's learning to listen to them and learning to know that they are with us.
Hmm. Thank you for sharing that. And that's not the first time I've heard that a relative that has passed on helps pilot people with your ability. Um, should you, the rest of us, and I think we identified that we all have some kind of intuitive ability, others more in tune with it, like yourself. Should we call out to our relatives that have passed? Like, my grandmother, she is probably the only one that I don't think has ever come through in any time anybody has ever done a reading on me. I haven't been intentional and said, "Hey, you get anything from Nanny?" um, but I wonder, should we just vibe it like, "Do you have something for me? I want to connect with you." Just throw it out into the universe within your mind.
Yeah, you can, because we have that, all of us have that creative source, that power within us. We have that drive within us. And you can ask. And the truth is, Steve, I'll be honest, sometimes they don't answer us. And I
Sure.
don't know the reason. I don't know the reasons for that. Maybe they've moved on, maybe they've reincarnated back, maybe God's given them permission to go to another planet. I have no idea. There's other life forms, there's other things out there that we don't know anything about. It's big out there. And to be honest, that's a little bit sad, because you want to connect with those people that you really love. You want to know that they're definitely there with you, but it's not always shown. But there will be somebody with you, and that person's your guide, who's your family of light, as I call it, your family of light, your ancestral lineage. Who is very drawn to your energy. And it's important to work with that person. Maybe that person's been assigned, that energy of that person has been assigned to work with you, and
Hmm.
and so you would work best with that, whereas you think it might be your grandmother, but it might not. It might actually be your mother or someone else. So there's a lot of things at play here.
Well, I think I've shared before that my mom, who passed 5 years ago, I get signs all the time, very specific, very specific. So there's no doubt in my mind that she's providing something, whether it's comfort, whether it's insight, and I talk to her all the time.
Yeah.
My relationship was great when she was here. Even better now. I feel so much even more connected. And she
Well,
backs it up by sending me things, and I can't deny them. It's like crazy. So I would say that she's my guide. I don't
yeah,
know.
exactly. And the thing is, in your heart, you know that you don't have to prove that to anybody, because you see the
Yes.
signs that she keeps on sending you. And I think people have to learn to trust. It's a little bit like that Indiana Jones movie, which I always forget the name, but it's where Harrison Ford is standing on the edge of that cliff, and I think Sean Connery is his dad, who's very sick, and he has to walk out. There's no bridge. He walks out of the cliff, and the bridge appears. So having faith also is like, test the waters, try it a little bit, see what you pick up,
Hmm.
and start to develop that connection, because a lot of us feel so disconnected, actually, especially in this day and age, but especially with things like ancestors and stuff. We all think it's just doing a DNA test. It's far, far, far deeper than that,
Oh,
you know.
for sure. And that's why we call upon you. Because anybody can, spit in a vial and send it in an envelope and get some information back. It's a whole different situation when you take it from a spiritual side, uh, and bring back those nuggets of information, insight. Um, Final thoughts here on ancestry, things that we should be aware of, maybe we can do on our own to maybe start a connection.
Yeah, so I think you will definitely feel your ancestral blessings, or ancestral curses in that place, unfortunately. If you had a really good family member who was regularly going to church, praying, blessing the family, all of that comes down your family line. So it'll be easier to connect in some ways. And I think that people shouldn't give up trying. There's always a way. Like I said, you can always book a reading with me. There are other people out there too, I'm sure, who do this sort of thing. And always feel open to your heart. Be honest from what you're asking, because then you will get the answers. They can also help us heal our wounds with divine intervention, find our purpose, a sense of belonging and healing, especially if a lot of us feel like out of sorts or like we don't belong. They can help us to find that. And you can even pray. I forgot to say that. Oh my God. Prayer is an amazing way to connect with your ancestors, because you're asking for that help, and that light goes out, and you will get the answers that you need. They will guide you.
Final thought here. We use the word pray or prayer. Many of us connected to religion. What's a prayer?
That is a
What's a
deep
prayer?
question. We'll be here for another half an hour. A prayer, a prayer is sending out your intentional ask to the divine or to source. You know, you're asking for help. You are asking to be guided to a certain situation, and you're having the faith that you're receiving the answer. Just remember that your belief should be that it is done. It is already done. It's written in the heavens. It's done. And then go about your business. Go and do what you need to do. Let that come to you. It will come to you. You know, sometimes we get anxious. That's the thing. We get so anxious, Steve. And I found a little prayer. It wasn't mine. I wish it was. But it was a lady on Instagram was saying it, and it wasn't a religious prayer. She used the word God, but I suppose other people can use source or whatever. But it was really about let your will be done and not mine. And I have to say, I'm a red personality, so I'm all about control. So I was a little bit like, I found it hard to hand that over, but I did say let thy will be done in this prayer, and I've been saying it every morning, and I'll tell you what, doors have been opening, because it's not my picture, my little world picture, it's the big source picture. So it's opened up doors in a week that I wouldn't have imagined. So have that faith that there's an order to things, there's a meaning to things, you know.
What is that? The phraseology of what you just said? How do you say it?
Oh, it's a whole long prayer. Can I send it to you afterwards? It's not long. It's like a few lines, but I can email it to you. But
Definitely.
it is really good. It is really good.
You know, please email it to me, and potentially we may be able to put it up of a graphic here.
Yeah.
It almost, and I'm not getting religious with this, but it almost reminds me of the song that came out, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, maybe 15. Um, Jesus, take the wheel. So it's almost as if you're saying just to the divine source, whatever,
Yeah.
insert and whatever you want for Jesus. Again, I'm not getting religious. I'm just referring to letting go. Like just take you
Well, surrendering, isn't it?
surrendering. Thank you.
It's surrendering, because when you try to do things everything in your own power, I find I just can't, and I just get very
Well,
stressed and anxious.
well, it's
So
futile if you believe in what you're saying, that it's already
yeah.
been figured out. So yeah.
Exactly. I have the words here. I mean, basically, have you got any time now? Or are you running out now? Running out of time, right?
Yeah, we
So,
got like 30 seconds ish.
okay, so let me be quick. It says every morning, God, I want to see you. I say God, you can say source or whatever works. God, I want to hear you. God, I want to know you. God, I want to follow hard after you. Therefore, I'm declaring today, God, you're good. You're good to me. You're good at being God. So I'm safe enough to trade my will for your will, because I'm so confident you will, God. Now, today, give me someone to forgive, show me someone to bless, and show me evidence all around of your goodness and faithfulness. That's it. And actually, it's not mine. So credit to whoever said that. I should have taken her name down on Instagram, but I
Yeah.
didn't. But it bloody well works. It's really good.
I like it in that it says everything you need and want to say, whether whoever you connect it to, God, source, universe, whatever it might be, that what do we want? We want to know that we're safe. We want to know that, we're asking for validation within there too.
And
Send me a
our
sign.
purpose. Yeah.
Exactly. If you could email that to me and then we'll get it up there.
Also will.
Yeah,
Also will.
fantastic. Hannah, how do we connect with you?
So you can go to my website, which is yourinnerlight.co.uk, and there are all my details on there, my contact details. I also have a Facebook page called Elevate Your Inner Self, so you can add yourself to a private group. You can add yourself to that if you want to. But those are the best ways to contact me. My email and my phone number are all on my website, yourinnerlight.co.uk.
They say that your past dictates your future, even more so with what we talked about with our ancestors, right?
You got to bring them into your life, because
Yeah.
it's like I saw an image of like hands like this, but it was all the hands going back. I could see it when I meditated, and I was like, wow, I don't know who they belong to, but they're with me, you
Hmm.
know.
They're supporting.
They're supporting.
All of us,
They're
all of us.
supporting all of us.
Thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much. Take
Appreciate it.
care.
We'll talk
Bye-bye.
soon. We're coming right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.